Today's video is part of a series where I create all of the different chart types in Excel. For this video, we're going to be creating the bar chart, and we are going to be creating either multiple versions of the same bar, and then we'll progressively move into different chart types, different bar chart types, and then format some of them differently so you can see how you can modify certain aspects of your charts to, get certain designs or, things like that. Anyway, if you want to watch other videos in this series, the link to that will be in the description box below, or you could click on the playlist on screen right now. Alright, let's get started. I already have Excel open and we have our data set. The link of this data set is going to be in the description box below. When you download your data set, it's going to be in the CSV format. I suggest that you save a copy as an Excel workbook format. So let's start by creating a table. So I'm going to go to insert and we're going to insert table. So Excel just automatically highlights whatever data you have. If you want to exclude certain columns or things like that, you can do that. But for this one, we want to use the entire data set, and I'm just going to click on OK. So we're going to use this table to create our pivot table. So I'm going to create a new sheet where we can start with our first chart. So what you're going to do is select any cell, go over to insert, pivot table, and you can do the two things. Come here, select from this first column, Control Shift, click left and down, and you see that this entire range, since we created a table with this entire data set, it's now referencing the table itself, which is table 1. If you want to find out what the name of the table is, just go over to the table design tab and you see under here table name. So whatever yours may be, if you created a table multiple times in the same Excel file, normally it will start counting 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. So whatever the name of your table is, all you need to do is reference that table to get your data. So for me, it's table 1. From this point forward, I'm always going to reference table 1 whenever I want to create a pivot table. For this first chart, we are going to use products name. So I'm going to get product name, add product name to rows. For values, we want to use revenue, and I'm going to grab revenue and add revenue to values. I'm going to select my entire data set, the numbers, and I want to change the formats to currency. Specifically, I want to change it to dollars. Next up, we're going to insert our chart. So go over to insert. You can use this recommended chart options, but this charts tab, but I want to use recommended chart. So for this tutorial, we are working on the bar chart. In case you haven't seen the videos on the column, line, and pie charts, you can check out the description box below to the link to the course playlist or the links to the individual videos. So this is what we are working on. We are working on the clustered bar chart, and I'm going to click on OK. And yeah, this is what we have. This is a basic bar chart. So we have our first bar chart, and I'm going to just right click on one of these buttons and hide or fill buttons on charts, and we don't need this legend here, so I can just select it and delete it, or come over to this chart element, and then if I click on legend, we're going to have it on click, and then it's going to disappear. Let me change the title of this chart. This is going to be revenue by products, and I'm going to select all of this, copy it, and use it to rename the sheet. Now you'll see that bars don't have any real order, and we want to compare. So let's just say we want to see it from the highest to the lowest. I'm going to select this pivot table, right click, and then we have this option to sort. Let's sort largest to smallest, and the way bar charts work is that the largest item will be at the bottom and the smallest will be on top. So I just wanted to show you, when I create clustered column charts, I normally sort largest to smallest, and it's from left to right. So the largest item will be on the left and the smallest item will be on the right. But the bar chart, some sort of, well, to me anyway, feels counterintuitive, where I expect the largest item to be on the top. But I'm going to leave this one like this so that I'll just show you what a classic bar chart looks like. But as we move forward, we are going to sort smallest to largest, so that the largest item will be on top and the smallest item will be at the bottom. But whatever one works for you, you can go ahead and use it. But anyway, we are done for the first one. What we're going to do is create more bar charts. As we're creating different versions of the charts, we are going to be formatting each one differently. So we'll have multiple designs of all of the different bar chart types. So let's create a new sheet and insert a pivot table. Select any cell, insert pivot table, and I'm going to reference table 1. Click on OK, and we have our pivot table. I'm going to come over to these fields, and we can now start dragging and dropping what we want to use. I want to use sales rep. Drag sales rep to rows, and we are going to get profits, and we are going to create profits and put profit in values. I'm going to select this. I could just get rid of the grand total, so you could right click the grand total and remove grand total. I'm going to select all of this, and we are going to go over to the home tab and change the format of these numbers to currency. I want to use dollars. Next up, I'm going to go over to insert recommended charts, bar charts, and I'm still going to use a clustered bar chart. Click on OK, and this is what we have. Once again, I'm going to right click, hide all field buttons on charts. Next, I'm going to, let me change the chart title. So this is going to be profits by sales rep. We can either use, let's just make it presentative. And I'm going to copy just till, I just want to copy this, and I'm going to paste, and I'm going to rename my sheet. I'm going to select this legend once again, delete, or you could also select here and once again delete. We're going to do a bit more formatting in this one so that I can just kind of show you the design options you have. Let's select the entire chart area, and under fill you can change the fill for this chart area. So select, let's say we select solid fill, and Excel just picked a random color. So you have this really dark blue color. You can change the color if you want, see this color or this one, whatever color you want, that's what it's going to be. You can select gradient, and you can change the colors. Normally gradients, this is where you change the colors, the gradient stops, and then you select each stop and then change the color here. But I'm not, if, let me just say I pick one of this, and let me pick this one, and you change it to, let's say, this color, and you're going to have that different gradient options. But I just wanted to show you for demonstration, but we are not going to do that. Then we have picture or texture. So you can go over to here, and you can select other textures, or you could select a picture or whatever you want to change the design of your font. For whatever reason you would want to design it like that, you can. We have pattern fill, which is one I tend to like and sometimes I'll use. So you can pick different patterns, so on and so forth. So it's using blue as of now. Let's say we pick a different color, let's say we pick orange, and then we have this other different design pattern. But I'm going to select automatic, and automatic typically will fill your chart area with white, but I'm going to leave it at that. Let's go over to border, and we will have different border options for the line for our border. So no line means it by default will have this really faint gray line around it. No line means, well, there's no line on it. Solid line is, well, it's going to pick a color, and now it's just left to you to choose a color. You know what, I'm going to actually leave this solid line, but well, let me just show you gradient. I'm going to click out, so you see the top is lighter, the bottom is darker. So just in case you want to use that for your design, you can, but I will choose solid line. Even when to choose automatic, I went back to gray. If I change the color to this, which is what you use, it will now switch back to solid line. You can change the transparency of the line. It's currently at 0%, so it's very visible. If I reduce it, it gets even more faint. So that way you can control the transparency, but I'm just going to leave it as 0. You could increase the width of the line, but I'm going to leave it as the default. You can even change the compound line type. See, I selected this. Let me increase the thickness of this line so that I can demonstrate how it looks like. And when I click out, you can see that it has this design. Let me zoom in, and you can see that it's changing. It changed to that pattern we selected. So I'm just going to come back to 100%. Let's select the chart area. I'm going to return it back to 0.75, which is the default. And I'm going to also change the compound type to just a regular line. You can also make it a dash line if you want, say something like this. And as you can see, we have that. Just undid that so that we don't have that anymore. So I just choose a regular line, change the color. The width is 0.75 by default, and we're going to leave everything. But what I will do is make it have rounded corners. So this is what our chart will look like. Let's now change our focus to, let's say, this data series as the bars themselves. We can change the fill of this, so you can use a solid fill, and once again Excel is just picking a color at random, maybe the last color you used or based on the theme. It's just going to pick any color you want. Let's say you wanted to use a gradient and you have this option for gradient. You can change the direction of gradient. So for this gradient, it's going top to bottom, so we can select presets, say something like this, or we can change the direction. Let's say I wanted it to, let me say I want the right end of the bars to be faint and then the left to be dark. So this is what we're going to have like this. So you can change the direction of the gradient if you want and things like that. Let's select the data series again, and let's say we want to use a picture or texture. So it's using the last texture I used. Let's say pattern, same thing, it's choosing the same pattern. I'm not going to go to all this pattern automatic. It's just going to use the default for the theme that you are currently using. But for me, I want to use solid fill, and the color I want to use, I really like this color, this dark blue color. And we can add borders to our line, to our data series as well. I'm not going to go through all of them because it's essentially the same thing. Typically when you're formatting with Excel, to get comfortable with it, just select it and see what comes up. So you can select it, you can modify it just like any other shape. You may be able to do some formats, you may not be able to do some in others, but it's just around with getting comfortable with those kind of things. So I'm just going to give it a border. I'm going to give it a solid line, and it's still using the orange color. We can even make this line maybe say thicker. Let me make it 2.5. That's actually that's way too much. Let's use 1.5. That looks better. I just wanted to make it really visible. So let's now change the gap width. Well, I could, okay, let's just do that. So let's go to gap width, and here where it's like this, I'm going to make this 80%, and you can see that our bars will get wider. And this is how you can increase the bar width. You can also, let's try a different number. Let's say 100. This feels okay, but I think, you know what, let's leave it as it is at 100. So the more you change it, the more different, the more it's, let's try something. Let's say 0, and you have something that essentially looks like a histogram. So depending on what you want, let me see what happens if 500 and we have this really skinny bars, which if that's what you're going for, then by all means go for it. But I'm going to stick to, let's do 100 instead of 180. I'm going to leave it at 100, and that's what we have. You can add shadows and glues to your series as well. So let's say I select shadows and I pick one of the presets and I use, let's see, this one, and now the individual bars themselves have shadows. Or you could pick a different shadow type. Let's say this, it's not really going to affect it. And that's what I was talking about. Sometimes you click on some settings on a certain object and Excel will sort of gray it out, where it's telling you you can't do such, similar to what you have here. Those things will still be there, but you can't actually click on it because Excel is telling you you can't use this setting on this object, whatever it is. However, sometimes those things you can actually click on it, but if you click on it, nothing is going to happen. So it's just like getting used to what you can do with certain things and what you can't do. With time, you'll sort of figure it out. So I'm just going to select no shadow. It was for these bars. I'm going to select this, so it's still selecting this one, but you're not seeing any effects. Let me see. Same thing with this one. We're not seeing anything. Well, I think there is an effect. It's just that the fill of, let's change the fill. of this, and well, now you can see that it feels like our bars are depressed, where they feels like a cutout effect. So that's something you can apply, but just try and figure out what works for yours. What you're working on, I'm going to just remove that, and let me just select this and make sure I've removed the shadow. All right, I'm going to select no shadow, and you can add a glue to your bars as well. Let's say I pick this one and it's really intense. Let's pick something smaller. If you pick a size you like, you can always change the color of it by selecting color and then picking a color. Let's say I pick the same color with what I have there, and then we have this glue. But I don't want my charts to have a glow. I just wanted to show you. Let's do soft edges. Let's see what happens where we click. Let me click this, and our bars essentially disappear. That's way too much. Let me bring it back. Let me pick something that will show the soft edges, and okay, here we have it. So it's essentially blurred out, but I'm not going to use it on my bars. If I ever use blurred edges, it's always on the edge of the actual chart itself if I use it. And then 3D format, let's see what happens when we select, let me see this, and we can actually give our bars a 3D effect if you want to do that. And let me select a different one. Let's say we select this. Oh, I selected the chart area. I want to change it for the bars themselves. Select this, and we have a different bar shape. Maybe I could change the color so that maybe we could see the effect. Okay, this actually is much better, so you can see the 3D effect much better. Let's say I select this and I click on this. We're not really going to see much difference. So it's all about just playing around with the settings, and sometimes you can create some really cool designs. And the issue of design is typically when you are building a dashboard. It's not about analysis in this case. So for this tutorial series, we're going to focus more on the chart types themselves, how to create the charts, and then how do you format those charts to change them to make it look a certain way. So we're not going to be focusing too much on data analysis or things like that. We'll format numbers sometimes and things like that, but we are more focused on design. And yeah, that's it for all of the options you can apply to the bars. Let's now focus on this area. This area is called the plot area, so it's where these bars are. So similar to what you have with other areas, you can add a fill, things like that. So it's set to automatic. If you select solid fill, it's going to add a color, gradient, picture or texture, things like that, pattern, and then I'm just going to return it back to automatic. For the sake of this tutorial, I'm not going to change the fill. You can play around with it, and we also have the option for a border. So for this one, I'm going to pick a solid line, and by default Excel has already picked this orange line. If you want to see the color, it's this second orange color. So I'm just going to leave the width at the default. If you want to change the type of line, just like we had, you can choose the compound type, the dash type, and the this cap type will apply when you change the dash type. And yeah, that's it for the plot area. So if you want to add any effects, for the sake of this tutorial, I just added the border around it. So for some final details, what I'm going to do, we're going to bring our attention to this axis. I'm going to extend it, and you can see that we can sort of see our numbers, but not quite. If I extend it again, then we can see the difference between the numbers. What if you don't have enough space? You can do two things. Either remove the decimal places, two ways. You can either select these values, all of them, and then you're going to decrease the decimal places, and then you're going to have this. I'm going to increase them back, or you could select this axis, and over at axis options, you have this option. Let me say the maximum, what it's talking about is this. If I reduce it to, what is this one? 331, I can reduce it to 340, and then it's going to increase the maximum. But I'm just going to leave it at the default of 350,000. Oh, it didn't change. I'll just return it back like that. Next, I'm going to just do what I came here to do. I just want to demonstrate something. I'm going to come over to number, and you can reduce the decimal places to 0. And now we'll have 0 decimal places while these figures remain the same. I'm going to return it back to 2. I actually want to use a code. So there's different codes, format codes for different. If you want to do that for 10,000, if you want to do it for thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions, billions, you can do that. For this one, I'm just going to do it for hundreds of thousands. So I'm going to use the $sign and then, oops, not that, 0 and then I'm going to just add this, and now it's formatting 0k, 50k, 100k, and your numbers are much clearer. So this is not exclusive to the bar chart. Any chart you're using that has figures like this where it's showing in currency, you can actually use this format. Just go to the format code field, use the code for whatever you're using. If we're using for millions, I could have showed you, but you could just Google it. It's very easy to find. I'm going to select these grid lines and delete this. I'm going to sort from this item so that we can have it in order. So sort smallest to largest. As I explained earlier, bar charts tend to take the largest will be at the bottom and the smallest will be at the top if you sort largest to smallest. But to me, intuitively, I just feel like this is going to look, it just feels more intuitive to have the largest on top and the smallest at the bottom. That's why I sort smallest to largest. One more detail, you'll see that these 3 corners is the orange color, this is not. Now what we can do, I'll select this axis, come over to fill. Once again, whenever you select a section of your chart, just look at the format or design options you have and just play around with the settings. It just takes a bit of time and then you kind of figure out what's going on. The line is currently set to automatic and it's this light gray color. We can either select no line, and if I select no line, you'll see that now we have because we set the we selected this plot area and then we added the line, so the line is there. Or if you wanted to do something maybe different with it, you could have selected solid line and it's going to change it. So now there's actually 2 lines here, but we are just going to select no line for it. No, that was for the chart. I want to select this no line, so we are going to have the orange line all around our chart. Finally, let me say you wanted to change the text. As I'm on this chart right now, you can go to text options and then change the text items, but sometimes I kind of find working on text, because I typically don't format text. If I want to change text, either I want to change the size, the font, or the color, or maybe even the width to make it bold or something. Sometimes I want to make my titles bold. Sometimes I want to make the text on the axis bold so that it's more clearer or whatever, for more visibility or whatever. But I typically don't do much with text at all. Change font, change width, change size, and change color. Those are the only 4 things I ever do with text. So I typically don't even come to this axis. If you want to play around with it, you can. But let me say now it's set to current fill. Interestingly, it's set to black, but it's not. So what you do is click again and then it becomes full black. I don't know why Excel does that. Maybe it's just my own, or that's how it is. If you went to go to the colors, it will tell you it's black, but actually it's not. It's this very it's this really dark gray color. Or you could use this in the home tab. When you select the entire chart, you can actually modify the text here. So if I wanted to change the font, let me say I wanted to use this font or this or this or whatever. So this is why I like to stick to it, because it's much more easy. I just feel like it's much easier to work with, and you can actually select what axis you want and then modify the text for whatever. Let me say I want to change the axis. We can say, let me say I change the font, so I can change just the font for this one. I can do the same for this axis here, and I can change the font only for that axis, and I can change the font for just the title. But if you select the entire chart area, whatever you're going to do is going to affect all text within the chart. So let me say I want to change the color to the same color we're using for our bar, and you can see all of the text has changed to the color of the same color we have on our bar charts. But anyway, I think we've done enough with this one. I'm trying to rush through it. Like I said, I'm trying to show you the design options and things you can do. So I'll move on to the next one. So something I haven't done in one before, I may do in the other. But with time, as you practice with this, you're going to get an idea of, how to do things. If you want to practice, you can plot this chart over and over again and then make different versions of it to create an interesting looking dashboard. Because a lot of time, dashboards are more like a snapshot of your data. So you're not just presenting the data as they are. Some people like aesthetics, so you may want to create it so it looks, looks a certain way. So if you want to watch dashboard design tutorials, a shameless plug here, you can check out the playlist or you could click on, I'll put a playlist on screen right now. You can watch some playlists on how to create some Excel dashboards and things like that. All right, let's move on to the next chart type. I'm going to create a new sheet and I'm going to insert a pivot table. Just in case you notice, I'm always using B2, cell B2, even though I say select any cell. There's no reason for doing that. It's just what I like doing. I'm going to insert pivot table and I'm going to reference my table, which is table 1, and we are going to have this. Now I'm going to grab brand and drag it to rows. Next we're going to have region. Let me see. Region is going to be in columns and we are going to grab units sold. And we are going to have units sold in values. I'm going to leave it as it is for now. You could remove the grand total, could just keep it. Anyone will do. Go over to insert and we are going to go over to recommended charts, bar charts, and we are going to use a cluster bar chart. And I'm going to click on OK. Now we have, since we have items in the so this is the legend series, where that's what it calls it. We now have the items divided into region. So we're not just saying, if I were to remove region, you're going to see it's just a basic bar chart. It's called a clustered bar chart, where you just see that we only have one bar. So although we can see the total sales, total revenue for each item, we are seeing, just the sales for the item. But if we want to split it by region, we want to see the performance of each brand in each region, this is what it's going to look like. So I'm just going to return region back, and that's how it is. I'm going to right click and I'm going to hide all fill buttons on chart. Let's add the chart title. So I'm going to select this plus icon and I'm going to select chart title. This is going to be units sold by brand and region. I want to rename my sheets with this units sold by brand and region. That's the name of our I'm going to name this sheet. I'm not going to make any modifications. Like I said, I'll just create one and then we can make modifications in later ones. But what we are going to do, I'm not going to change it, but we can at least look at defaults or the designs that are available in Excel. So I'm going to you either click on this paintbrush icon, or you will come over to the design and then you can have these options. This one, okay, these are the list of options. So I could just go through it. So we have these designs. We could have this, we have this. I could go on, so on and so forth. And many of these designs you can create if you want. So maybe as a challenge to yourself, you could pick one of the defaults and then try to recreate it, to just get comfortable with changing a lot of details about your charts. Anyway, that is it for this first one. We'll move on and create another one. That one we are going to make changes to. Before that, let me also show you one other thing you can do. This item, change colors. Let me say you want to quickly change the colors and you don't want to use the colors that are by default in Excel. So you could select one of these colors here. And you also have this monochromatic. They look more like gradients. So I typically don't use them. It's one of this one is one of my go-to whenever I want to colorful palette 3. So that's the one I typically go for. So I can still scroll down. You can see more options, more of these grays. But I tend to stick to either the default, pick my own colors, just go over to Pinterest is my go-to, or colors. That's a website where they have like color palettes and things like that. And I'll just pick a palette set of colors that I really like for my entire dashboard, not just the chart. And then I'll just change it very quickly. But anyway, that's it. Let's now move on to the actual one. Let's go over to insert pivot table, and I'm going table 1. We are going to use payment method here, so I'm going to find payment method. Payment method is going to go to rows, and we are going to use sum of revenue. So I could where's revenue? All right, we are going to have revenue in values, and we are also going to grab customer segment. So I will split that into customer segment. Select this cell, Control Shift, your right key and your down key to select all of that number, all of our values. Select this option, and we're going to change this to dollars, the format of these numbers to dollars. We're going to go over to insert chart, and I'm going to use the same clustered. We are still on the clustered bar charts, and I'm just going to click on OK, and this is what we have. What I'm going to do is right click here, hide all fill buttons on charts, and I'm going to add a chart title. Come over to chart elements, and we are going to add a chart title. Oh, not access title, chart title. I'm going to change this. This is going to be revenue by payment method and customer segments. And I'm just going to increase the width of this, so we have all our text on one line, and I'm going to rename my sheets to revenue by payment method. Just that the title will be too long for our sheet name. So I'm going to, let me say, select these grid lines, and I'm going to delete it. Let me increase the height of this a bit. Now you can either turn off certain elements in your charts by either clicking one of these options here. Say you want to have sorry, not that I don't want to use thread lines, so I deleted my grid lines and then I brought them back, and then you have this, this, and this. Remember, we haven't did we look through the default? When we're looking through the default options, some of them had all of these grid lines, and you can do that, but I'm going to turn off all the grid lines for this one. We have the data table. If you want to use that, we're going to use that later on in our tutorial, but that's how you can add chart elements. Or you could come over to design and you can add chart elements here. So you have the primary horizontal. So the reason why it disappears is already there. When you hover over it, it's going to remove it or add it. If it's not there, it's going to add it. If it's there, it's going to remove it. And you have the same set of items, thread lines, grid lines, legend, and all of those ones. So if I select legend now, I'm going to select none. It's going to remove the legend. Let me select that now, because in our actual charts that I want to design right now, we're not going to have a legend. So you can modify it either there or here, or you could just select the elements you want to delete and delete it. So for example, I also don't want this horizontal axis. I'm just going to delete it. I'm going to right click chart area, format chart area, so we can format this. I'm going to, let me change the fill to, let me use this blue color, something like that. Next up, let's add, well, let's not add, I want it to have rounded corners, so I'm going to use a solid line, and it's by default going to also select the last color I use, and I'm going to add rounded corners to this chart. And next up, let me see, I want to change the color of the text. The text looks a bit washed out because it's this really dark gray color. I'm going to go over to the home tab, and then, oops, not that. I'm going to select text, and once again, like I said, it will select the dark, the darkest black color, but in actuality it's gray. So select it again, and it's going to change to black. Next, I'm going to, let me select this item. Let's go over to fill. I want to change the fill of all of this. I'm going to change this to, let me say, let's use this blue color, You could actually change this if you want. Say, go over to design, change colors, and if you see a color that works for you, let me see. Do I want any of these colors? I want to just, it's not going to be anything complicated. I'm still going to pick colors that are within Excel, but you could do that. I'm going to select this orange one. I'm going to change it to this, and select this, and I'm going to change it to this. This is a very interesting mix of colors, but anyway, this is for demonstration purposes. You still can sort this, so you can select the grand total, right click, let's say sort smallest to largest, and now we have cash on top, card, bank transfer is still at the bottom, but based on the total we have cash on top, card, digital wallet, and bank transfer. You can also do that with the previous one, but I didn't do it there. So we have this, but something is missing here. We have cash, card, digital wallet, bank transfer. We don't have a legend to tell us what these colors mean, so each color represents something. Well, what are we even looking at? Well, I know it's based on customer segment, but if someone were to look at it, okay, customer segment, what does it mean? So this is where font editing comes into play. So I'm going to add data labels, and then so we don't even know what those bars mean and what values they have. I'm going to have more options. So you can have your charts look differently based on how you format it. I'm going to come over to label options. I'm going to expand label options, and then we can add, I believe it's either okay, not series name, it should be, no, series name. I'm currently selected only on customer, so that's why it's only affecting it. Let me see. I'm going to also add category name, and this one is also going to be category name. Next up, I'm going to just we can change the position, label position. You can also do it here if you want to, but we're going to set it to inside end. I'm going to also do it for this, and inside end. So some of them are on 2 lines and can't have that. So what I'm going to do is select the text itself, and I'm just going to extend it like this. Same with this. Which other one? We have this one. I'm going to select just that one, extend it. Same with this. I'm going to select this. There are ways you this fits, it probably by default is set. So you see data labels, it's also sometimes to pick the best fit. So whatever you're doing, you know, just click on it. You probably can edit it. Oops, that was too much. I'm going to extend this. Let me select this one. I'm having issue selecting this one, and then let me select this one also. And now, even though we've set it to inside out, all of these ones that I've modified, we're having this issue where they are not at the inside end, even though that's what I set it as. Well, these are all text. Let's go over to home, and then we are going to change the alignment of the text to align right. Select these ones also, align right, and then I'm also going to grab these ones, and then I'm going to align right. So all of them will have the same spacing from the end of your bars, and then also this other edge. I'm just going to select this section, this, and I'm going to change the color of the text to white, this one white, and then this white also. So we can have our bar charts look like this. So if you don't want to have a legend and you don't want to have any items on the horizontal axis, this is another way you can do it if you want. Anyway, that is it for this design. Let's move on to the next one. I'm going to create a new sheet. Select any cell, insert pivot table, and I'm going to reference table 1 for our data. And now I'm going to, full disclosure, you probably won't plot a chart like this, but for whatever reason, if you want to, or maybe you've seen something like this and you want to figure out how to do it, well, this is how it is. Let me just do it and then you understand what I mean. I'm going to grab sales channel, add that to rows. We are now going to grab region, bring that under sales channel. Next up, grab values, and the values we're going to use is going to be revenue, and we're going to have this. I'm going to select it and home, change this to currency. Now let's insert our bar charts. Go over to insert, recommended, and then we're still using a clustered bar chart. I'm going to click on OK. And now you're going to have a chart that looks like this, where it's now grouping them. They are both on the same axis essentially. So if I come over here, move region here, this is what it looks like. It looks like a typical cluster bar chart. But what I'm doing with this is plotting the two items on the same axis, and it's not as clear as the other one. I don't know why. Maybe you could do it, but since it's there in Excel, for whatever reason you may want to use something that looks like this, well, that's an option. I just wanted to show you how you can do that. So typically I'll say just stick to this because it's more legible. You have your one item on this axis, and then it's going to split it or filter it in terms of its a series, and then it's going to split it. But here both of them are on the same axis, so you have retail, and then you have west, south, northeast, midwest, so on and so forth. But I'm going to right click, hide all fill buttons on charts. I'm going to select the legend, just delete it, and I'm going to rename this. This is going to be revenue by sales channel and region. And I'm going to select these grid lines. Let me select this, and I'm going to delete. And what I'm going to do is select these bars. I'm going to right click, format data series, so I can change the color. Before we move on to change the fill, I'm going to come over to this option here where you see series options. I'm going to select everything, and I'm going to make the cap width 100, and our bars are going to get thicker. Go over to fill, and I'm going to change the color to this color. Next up, we are going to use a data table for this particular chart. So I'm going to select this, delete it, come over to the chart element, and we are going to use a data table. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to just see no legend keys, so we don't have that legend there. But anyway, this is what a chart of a clustered bar chart of this nature, where you have the two items plot on the same axis. Then we'll also have a data table at the bottom. I could also make this text darker, or you could leave it the same. So I'm just going to change the text of the entire area. You can actually format this data series. So as I click on it, you're now seeing that you now have these table options. The format data table, like the entire thing just change to fit what you want. So as usual, you can change some items, some elements. Let me see, over at border, it's this really light gray line. I could use something, let me see, let me just use black, and now it's really, oh, that actually doesn't look good at all. Let me use something that is that one is still too dark. I'll just leave it something a bit darker than the default. That actually feels just like kind of distracting, because anyway, I've just wanted to demonstrate that you could, yes, also modify this. So once again, whenever you want to work on something, just click on it. If you want to try clicking on it, let me say you click on one thing, you click again, you may be able to click that specific item. Sometimes you won't be able to. Let me say I select this axis, I select again, I can't select any other thing. So you can figure out what you can edit, what you can format, or what you can't, or where you have to format it as a whole, or you can format it as a whole, or format it as individual items. But anyway, that is it for this other design of clustered bar charts. Before we move on, of course, I'll just copy this. Hopefully I haven't used that name before. Okay, I could use that name. So this is revenue by sales channel, just to keep it short. That's why I didn't copy everything. I'm going to create a new sheet, and I'm going to insert a pivot table, and I'm going to reference table 1. Next, what we're going to do is grab customer segments and bring it over to rows. We are going to grab payment method, bring payment method to columns, and for our values we're going to use profit. Bring profit to values. I'm just going to select all of this data, go over to the home tab, and then change this to currency. Let's now insert our charts. Go to insert, recommended charts, bar charts, and this time we are going to move on to the next type of bar chart, which is a stacked bar chart, and I'm going to click on OK. I'm going to right click, hide all fill buttons on charts. Let me add a chart title, and this chart title is going to be profit by customer segment and payment method. Let's see if I can. I think I can't use this name anymore. Okay, that name is still available. Profit by customer segment. That's the name of our sheet. I'm not going to modify this, but I will explain what a stacked column chart, a stacked bar chart. This is not a column chart. I just want I want to reduce the number of decimal places, so I'm just going to reduce it here so that we can see our values better on the horizontal axis. So what a stacked column chart is it's taking the total and then it's saying how much each segment contributes to that total. So if you look here in consumer is 626. So if you kind of look at your chart, you can see, yes, this is around 620, what you expect 626 to be, and you can see what each one is contributing to that total, and it is working with the exact same values, what sort of format of your values you have. So in this case, we're looking at currency, so it's using currency to distinguish, that is how much each segment contributes. So if you hover over each one, you see that bank transfer contributes 172,000. This one is 142. This one is 188. And this one is 122. So you can see what each one contributes. This one is around 556 here. We can see the total. This one is 508, which is just around here. So a stacked bar chart is showing you the total of what each one is, and then showing what each element that you plot on your series, your legend or your series. So these are the categories and this is the series, and that's what it's showing you essentially. Yeah, so that's just one design for or just the classic stacked bar charts. I can just go ahead and show you the default designs before we move on to create something that we can modify. So we have this one. So if you want your values to be within the charts, they all tend to follow the same pattern, but I just want to quickly show you. But anyway, that's it for this one. Let's now create another one so we can modify that one. I'm going to create a new sheet, and we are going to insert a pivot table using table 1. Hopefully you will know how to create a pivot table now. Inside pivot table, reference your table. I said I know that we'll create an stacked column chart, but I just felt like there's no need. You can just use the same formatting methods you use for the typical bar charts. That will work fine. So you just have to select each one, change colors, things like that, the fill, the gradient, whatever, things like that. You can change it individually as well. So there's no need. We're just going to move on to the next chart type. So the next bar chart type, I'm going to grab month this time, month, and I'm going to grab brand. Where is it? Brand is going to go to columns, and for values let's use revenue. going to add revenue here. Now I'm not going to change the format of these numbers. It really isn't necessary for what we want to create next. I'm going to go to insert, go to recommended charts and bar charts. What we are going to use is this one, which is the 100% stacked bar charts, and I'm going to click on OK. So what the 100% stacked bar chart does is, you see that our values here are in percentages, so it's showing the contribution of each one in terms of proportion, similar to what, think of it similar to what you have with a pie chart, where a pie chart is basically a circle where it's 360 degrees and each slice of the pie is showing you the contribution to that grand total. That's exactly what a 100% bar chart is doing. So it's showing you similar to the stacked column chart, but this one is in percentages. I'm going to right click, hide all field buttons on charts, and I'm going to add a chart title. I'm going to select all of this, and this is going to be monthly revenue by brand. I'm going to copy, I'm going to copy this chart title and I'm going to reuse it to rename the sheet name. And yeah, this is what we have for a 100% stacked bar chart. Let's now move on to the next one. I'm going to create a new sheet and I'm going to insert a pivot table. Go over to insert pivot table, and this will be table 1. Let's grab city, add city to rows, and we are going to grab customer segment, no, not customer segment, customer satisfaction in columns, and we are going to use customer satisfaction again in values. So automatically customer satisfaction in the data set, let me go back to the data set. Customer satisfaction is text. When I added it to values, Excel just automatically counts it because it just assumes that that is what you want to do, and yes, that is what I wanted to do. So I want to see the distribution of different customer satisfaction categories across cities. So I'm just going to select this. Let's go over to insert recommended charts, bar charts, and we are going to use a 100% stacked bar chart, and I'm going to click on OK. Let's right click on this, hide all field buttons on charts, and let's add a chart title over in the chart elements, and I'm going to change this to customer satisfaction by states. It's not states, customer satisfaction by city. I'm going to select that and copy. I want to rename this sheet. Okay. Next up, I'm going to select this legend and delete it. I'm going to select these grid lines, delete it. Also, select this series, right click, format data series, and under the series options, I want to make the gap width 100 so that the bars can be a little thicker. I may have to increase it, but let's add I want to add data labels to this. So I'm going to select data labels, or I could also select more options, and I can change the label options. Let me see if I can select all of them at once. It will let me. It won't. I want just the series name, and we are going to remove the value. You could leave the value if you want, but I'm just going to remove the value. Same with this one. I'm going to add the category name, or no, series name, remove value, series name, and same with this one, series name. I'm going to remove the value. I'm going to go over to home so I can change the color of the text to white for this. We're going to make all of them white. white, and then white also. Maybe I feel like I could, what will happen if I make it 80? 80 is just slightly better. You could reduce the size of the text if you want. I just want to see, okay, this actually just makes it better. Just increasing the height of charts just makes it actually much more better. So we can see the distribution of customer satisfaction by city. So here in neutral, if you want to get the exact value, all you need to do is hover over that particular segment, and you're going to see this pop-up that is going to show you the exact details. We can see satisfied, unsatisfied. This one, they are more or less equal. You can tell by that. Neutral is much smaller. Unsatisfied, you can see that proportionally it's much larger. So for Philadelphia, we can tell that unsatisfied is like the biggest one. We have satisfied, neutral, and satisfied more or less even. Let me see, unsatisfied very large in Columbus, unsatisfied same here in Atlanta. So very satisfied in Dallas is quite large. I think we have the largest in the very satisfied category in Dallas. Unsatisfied is the smallest. So I guess Dallas is performing the best in terms of customer satisfaction based on this data set. But anyway, that is it for the 100% stacked bar chart. Let's now move on to the next type of bar chart. I'm going to create another sheet, and I'm going to insert a pivot table, and I'm going to reference table 1. So we're going to grab region, add region to rows, and we are going to grab product category, add that to columns, and we are going to use, let's use profit for our values. And I'm going to add profit to values. Let's select our data, and I'm going to go over to the home tab, and I'm going to change the format to currency. Next, I'm going to go over to insert recommended charts and go over to bar chart, and we are going to use this option, which is the 3D cluster bar chart. So I'm going to click on OK, and this is what we have. I'm going to, you know what, let me remove product category so we can just see the next one. We're going to, let me remove I'll just remove product category for now. In the next one, we're going to add product category back. So I just want to create this version so you can see what a 3D, a 3D bar chart, cluster bar chart looks like without any other legend or series or that extra categories. I'm going to remove the total, and I'm also going to right click, hide all fill buttons on charts. Let's change this. This is going to be profit by region, and I'm just going to leave this. Maybe I could select this. I'll just come over to the format charts area, and under axis options, in number, I'm going to reduce the number of decimal places to 0. Once again, although this is a bar chart, you can pretty much format it the way you can most charts, except the design options are limited. I'm going to just hover over the design options so you can see, you know, the different default design options if you want to choose any of them. So this is what we have like this. Yeah. So I'm just going to leave it as it is. We can move on to the next one, and that one I'll just we're going to create, modify, and we'll also you know, just format it a bit so we can look at more details we can add to our chart. But before we do that, of course, we have to change our sheet title. Well, you don't have to, but I want to. This is probably not going to work. Oh, it did. Profit by region. I thought I've already created a profit by region chart. Turns out I haven't. I'm going to create a new worksheet. Select any cell, insert pivot table, and we are going to use table 1. Let's create another cluster. What is it? 3D cluster bar chart. I'm going to grab, let's use city, because we're going to use only one value. Let's use city this time. Add that to rows. There's going to be a lot more items in this particular chart, and we are going to use unit sold in values. So I'm going to, you know what, I'm going to select it, right click, sort from smallest to largest, so that we'll have our largest item on top and the smallest at the bottom. So I'm going to go to insert, recommended charts, bar charts, and we are going to use a 3D cluster bar charts, and I'm going to have this, and you can see in our actual pivot table, Philadelphia is on top, but in the chart Philadelphia is at the bottom. It's just how the bar chart interprets that. I'm going to increase this. Let's right click, hide or fill buttons on charts, and I'm going to change the chart title, which is units sold by states. And I'm going to copy this title, and I'm also going to use it to rename this sheet, and I'm going to click on OK. We can remove the total so that we can just have this. Since our bar chart is 3D, maybe we could format this chart so that the chart area is in 3D as well. So I'm just going to format our chart area. We can go over to effects, and maybe we could make the outside of our chart 3D to match what we have on these bars also. So I could set, let me see, let me use this. So the outline of our chart is also 3D. You can modify these bars as well. So when I select these bars, you're going to see these options where in series options, there's now this item where we can change the shape of the columns. And you can change the shape of the columns if you want to. So we have full pyramids. This partial pyramids, it's the largest one is the only one that will be complete, while the less of whatever value it has, the less of the pyramid you see. Same with the cylinder. Then we have full cone and then partial cone. I'm just going to leave it at box. We are going to modify something in the future to change its shape. But anyway, you can also go over to the, let me say you want to add a shadow. I'm just going to select one of the presets, and let's use this one. So the shadow is on this edge here. So you can also make some changes. Let me say I want to, this gap width is 150. Let me make it 100. Hopefully it's not, oh, that's not, let's make it 120. You know what, I'll just leave it as 150. I wanted to just show you, but it just feels way too, well, that was not intentional. I wanted to make it 150, which is the default. I'm going to go over to fill. Let's pick a different color. Let's use this pink color, and see, now we can see our bars much better. Anyway, that's what a classic 3D bar chart looks like. We can now move on to the next one. I just made some modification. We can move on to the next one, and then we'll try some other things. I'm going to create a new sheet, select any cell, insert pivot table, and we are going to reference table 1. Let's grab region, add that to rows, and we are going to grab I think product category, add that to columns, and we are going to grab profits and then add it to values. I'm going to select all of these items, oops, and I'm going to go over to the home tab and change this to dollars. I'm going to insert recommended charts, bar charts, and I'm going to use this one, which is a 3D cluster bar charts. So we have this chart here. I'm going to right click, hide or fill buttons on charts, and I'm going to add a chart title, and this is going to be profits by region. I'm going to copy this chart title, and let me see if it's taken. All right, finally I've encountered a chart title that is already taken, which is fine, and I'm just going to click on that. I'm going to, let me increase the width of this. So we have our clustered 3D cluster bar charts. You can see here that we have a lot of space here, so I can just come over here, format axis, and we can change the number. So remember, the maximum was it's just over, so it's plotting in 50s. So we could make it, let's see, 230, and that actually looks much better. So if it feels kind of off to you that, you know, it's splitting it into what proportion it wants, you know, you can just leave it as it is by default. But I just wanted to show you that a lot of things you can do in one chart, especially with the numbers and things like that, you can do in the other one. It's also messing things up here. So I think I'll just return it back. It's a 3D chart, so formatting the 3D charts tends to be a bit tricky. So leaving it to as close to the original as possible is what I tend to do. And if I want to modify it, what I'll do is modify the colors. So let me go over to the design tab so we can see the 3D options, which is just similar to what we have with the one where we had single bars. But I'll come over to change colors and I'll just switch the colors. Let me see. Let's use one of these monochrome colors. I really don't like that one. It feels really washed out. Let me see. Let's use this orange one. So yeah, this is what our profit by region chart looks like. Let's now move on to another one. Create a new sheet. We are going to do another profit by region, but this time I want to plot the same chart, but instead of having region on one axis and then having category on another axis, we want to plot both of them on the same axis, and then we can see what it looks like. I'm going to insert a pivot table, and this is going to be table 1. Let's grab region, add region to rows, and we are going to grab product category and also add it to the same row. Let's use revenue this time. I said profit, let's just use revenue, why not? I'm going to select all of this, go to home, change this to currency, which is dollars. I'm just going to use the dollars currency. Insert recommended charts, bar charts, and we are going to use this one, the 3D cluster bar charts. Once again, I'm just showing you that you can actually do this, but I would say just stick to doing this. This one I use profits, and this one I'm using revenue. It's essentially, if I swap it, well, it will look slightly different, but that is the same way you would plot it. So I'll just say stick to doing the other one, but I just want to demonstrate that you can do this. Now you see that unlike in the 2D version of this chart, there were lines to differentiate these sections, but this one doesn't have that. You can use colors to differentiate. Let me just change this to revenue by region and category. I'm going to copy. I doubt this chart title, okay, it's still available. So revenue by region and category is going to be our sheet title. What I'm going to do is, so underwears we have furniture, electronic accessories. Those are the only 3 categories. So I can select this single bar first, come over to fill, and then in the fill option I'm going to pick, let me use this dark blue color. That's the color I tend to default to in most things, and then I'll select this one. For this next one, which is under south, I can change the color to, let's say, this red color. I'll select just this one. We'll make it red. Same with this one, make it red. Next, under northeast, we're going to change the color to this one. And then finally, for this last one, let's use yellow. I'm going to use this yellow color, or is it orange? Orange color. So just in case you want to plot a chart like this and you want to have something that looks like this, you can actually do that. You can add the data table if you want. Again, not really necessary, but if that's an option for you, you can do that. Anyway, that is it for this chart. Let's now move on to another chart type or chart design. I'm going to create a new sheet and I'm going to insert a pivot table. So go over to insert pivot table and I'm going to reference our table 1. I'm going to grab sales rep. Where is it? Sales rep. Sales rep is going to go to rows. We are going to grab region. Region is going to go to columns, and then we have values, which is profits. And there we go. I'm going to, let me select the entire thing, and I'm going to go over to home, change this to dollars, and I'm going to insert my chart. Go over to insert, recommended charts, bar charts, and we are going to create a 3D stacked bar chart. I'm going to click on OK. Let me sort these bars. Over the grand total, right click. We are going to use, let's use largest to smallest just for this one. So once again, by default, the bar charts tends to keep the largest at the bottom and the smallest at the top. I'm going to right click, hide all field buttons on chart, and we are going to add a chart title. And I'm going to make this profit by sales rep and region. I'm going to copy the chart title and use it to rename the title of our sheet. Let me increase the width of this bar chart. So I'm going to, let me format this axis so that we can have this in a much more readable and manageable length. It's quite long. So I'm going to come over to the axis options tab, and under number, just expand this. We are going to format this code, select everything. I'm going to delete it, and I'm going to write my code for this so that it will be 0, comma, and then okay, hopefully I got that right, and we should, yeah, I got it right. So that is what it looks like. The only thing I'm going to change, once again, I don't want to start going through all of the design options. A lot of the things I've added before, you can apply again. You can go ahead and try that, but I just want to change the color. Go over to design. I'm not going to change it individually. I'm going to select this option, colorful palette 3. Click on that, and I'm just going to change it. Anyway, that is it for a 3D stacked column chart. As I've explained with a typical stacked, stacked bar chart, is we are looking at the total, and then you're seeing how each category contributes to the total. So we can see the total for Michael Brown. Michael Brown has the highest sales, and then you can see what his sales numbers were in each region. So same for David Clark, Emily Carter, Sarah Lopez. You can see how they did in each region by just simply looking at the bar chart. Anyway, that is it for this one. Let us now move on to the next one. I'm going to create a new sheet, and I'm going to insert pivot table, and we're going to reference table 1. Once again, this I'm just doing it for demonstration, so you can see, for every chart type, I also like to plot on the same axis so you see what it looks like. But you probably won't use it, maybe you will, but just to see what it looks like. This one, I'm going to intentionally make it look very ridiculous because I don't think you actually use something like that, but I just want to demonstrate. I'm going to grab brand, add that to rows, then we are going to grab quarter, and quarter is going to go under rows also. Next, we're going to grab values, and we're going to use profits. Profit is going to go to values, and we are going to grab region, and add, let me, region is going to go to columns, and you're going to have this data. I'm going to select all of this, and I'm going to go over to home, and I'm going to change it to dollars. Let's select this, insert, recommended charts, bar charts, and we are going to use a stacked bar chart, and I'm going to click on OK. I'm going to right click, hide all fill buttons on charts, and I'm going to add a chart title also. I'm going to rename this okay, let's say profit by quarter. Let's just rename it that to keep the, I want to just keep the title short, but obviously we're looking at quarter, brand, and region. Let's say just quarter, brand, and region. This title probably will be too long. Yes, I'll just leave it at profit by quarter for the name of this title. So let me zoom out so that I can increase the height and width so we can see all of the details of this. So typically I'll just say stick to creating separate charts. Maybe do one for quarter, and then brand by quarter, and then brand by region, something like that, just to keep it simple and readable. But I just want to show you that this is what you can actually do. So, you know, if you want to do something like this in whatever data analysis you're doing, or you want to create a dashboard, yeah, this is an option. Anyway, that is it, this quick one for this option. Let's now move on to the next one. I'm going to create a new sheet, and I'm going to insert a pivot table. That will be table 1. Click on OK, and then I'm going to grab city, add city to rows, and I'm going to grab payment method. Where is it? And add that to columns, and we are going to use revenue, and revenue is going to go to values. There's no need to change the format of these numbers. We are just going to go ahead and create our chart. Let's go over to insert, recommended charts, and under bar chart we are going to create a 100% stacked bar chart, and I'm just going to click on OK, and this is what we have. I'm going to right click, hide all filled buttons on charts, and let's add a chart title to this. So this is going to be sales by city and payment method. I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to rename the charts. The whole thing isn't going to fit, so I'll just use sales by city. I'm using sales so that I can reuse that title. Hopefully the title hasn't been used. But anyway, we are using a 100% 3D stacked column chart. So just like we explained earlier with the other one, what you have is the distribution of how things are. So for bank transfer in Columbus, bank transfer has the highest, and then this orange is card, the blue is cash, and then the light blue is digital wallet. So you can see the distribution of this. We're not going to make any real changes to this one. I'm just going to select it. Let me just change the shape. I want this to be a different shape. So format data series, I'm going to select cylinder, and now we've changed the shape of our data series. Anyway, that's it for this one. It's a very quick one. We've already demonstrated a stacked bar chart, so a 3D stacked bar chart is essentially the same thing. Let's create another one. So I'm just going to create another chart, insert pivot table, and this is going to be table 1, and I'm going to grab states, add that to rows. We're going to grab product category, add that to columns, and we are going to grab units sold, and then add that to values. Let's select this, insert recommended charts, bar charts, and let's use a 100% stacked bar chart, and I'm going to click on OK. I'm going to right click, hide all field charts buttons, and I'm going to add a chart title, and this is going to be revenue by states and products category. I'm going to copy this chart title and I'm just going to make a revenue by state. It probably, or I thought the name was already taken, still available. Let's do something different with this. So I'm going to increase the width of this and I'm going to delete this legend. Next, let me just increase the height. Next, I'm going to add data labels to this chart. So I'm going to select this and I'm going to select more options and we are going to add series name to this. So you can't really say it, but it's showing accessories. So I'm going to come over here, add series name, same here, series name. Next up, I'm going to, let me go over to design, change colors, and I want to use a different set of colors. Let me see. I would prefer, you know what, I'm not having the color combination I want. So I'm going to select this section, go over to fill, and I want to use this orange color here. Then for this middle section, I'm going to use this blue. And then for this section, I'm going to use a lighter shade of green. So for this green, let me see, I could use, that feels a little, I want it to be a bit lighter, something like this. I'm now going to select the text, go over to home, make it white, and finally we also have white. So you can have your labels on, you can have your callout values on the actual text, even though it's 3D, a 3D chart. Let's change the fill and let's do something dark. I'm going to set, I'm currently selected on the entire chart area. Let's change the fill to this really dark color, sorry, and let's go over to we're going to select under border. What we're going to do is select we'll just make it rounded corners, but what we'll do is go over to transparency and make it 100%. That way, although the corners are rounded, I want to just make the edge of our charts soft edges, because I don't think that's something we've applied to any of our charts. I'm going to come over here under this preset. We are going to use soft edges, and I want to use, let's see, this one. That one didn't really do much. Let me see, let me find something that is even more intense. Let's say something like this. So we have a chart with soft edges and you don't see the border because I made the transparency 100%. So that's what you can do if you want your chart to have rounded corners, but you don't actually want to have a border, because the only way you get a rounded corner is having a border. I'm going to select this text and I'm going to make it white. This one also, I'm going to make the text white, and here also it's going to be white. I just noticed that we can't really see some of our text here, but anyway, I just wanted to show you how you could. This feels a little bit, will I say too much? Let's make it something more realistic. If you wanted to actually use it, let me use this one. Let's see whether it's taking time to apply, or was it that there wasn't much difference. Let me try this one. All right, so we have our rounded corners with soft edges. And once again, I can't go through every options and combinations for chart designs, but this is just a way for me to just sort of demonstrate that you can do different things. If you wanted, you can change the shape of the cylinders, but I'm not going to do that. Anyway, that's enough for this one. I just want to create 2 more versions of our cluster bar charts with different bar shapes for our tutorial, and then we'll be done. I'm going to create a new sheet insert, and we're just going to quickly do this one. It was like when I was creating it, I just created those other designs, so if you want to use it, I'll like fine, let me just do it. So we're going to use product subcategory, add that to rows, and we are going to get profits, add that to values. I'm going to select all of this, and I'm going to go over to home, change this design to currency. Let's insert our recommended charts. We are going to use the bar charts, and I'm going to use the 3D clustered bar charts. I know we've already done this one, but let's add a bit more. I'm going to hide all fill buttons on charts. Let me sort this. We're going to do smallest. Let's do smallest to largest, so we have the largest on top. I'm going to select this and delete. So I want to make a, I think we've already done it, where we have the bars are 3D and the outline, our chart area, is also 3D. I'm going to select this. Let me change the title. This is going to be profits by product subcategory. And I'm going to copy the chart title and use it to rename my sheets. Next, I'm going to select this entire chart area. I want the text to be completely black, so I'm going to select it again, and even though it was showing that it's supposed to be black, it's not. That's what Excel tends to do. I'm going to select all of this, and I'm going to reduce the number of decimal places so that the decimal places will reduce here. I'm going to increase the width and height of this. Let me go over to format our chart area. So we have a border and it's currently set to automatic. We can make it solid line. For now, we'll probably change it based on what I want to add a 3D effect to it if we need to change it, or we could just make it white so that we don't have to bother with it. I'm just going to make it white. Let's go over to the effects, and for 3D format I want to use this one. So I'm going to use, is it Riblet that it says? So I'm just going to click on that, and this is what our chart will look like. Let's change the shape of these bars. I'm going to select the bars, not the grid lines, come over to series options, and I want us to use the cylinder this time. So I'm going to select cylinder, and for gap width I'm going to use 120. Let's even make it 100 in fact. So we're going to have 100. If you want, you can actually, I feel like the last time I did it, it didn't look too good on that one, but this one 80% actually doesn't look too bad on this. I'm going to select the bars, and I'm going to change the color to, let's use this orange color instead. And there we go. So we have another design of the cluster bar chart, the 3D cluster bar charts. Let's do one more for this one, and we are going to be done with this video. I'm going to create a new sheet, and once again insert pivot table, and this is going to be table 1. I'm going to grab, let's see, product category. I think product category is going to go to rows, and we are going to grab region goes to columns, and we are going to grab revenue is going to go to values, and we can change the format of these numbers to dollars, and that's what I'm going to do here. Let's select this, insert recommended charts, and bar charts. We are going to use a 3D cluster bar chart, and I'm going to click on OK. I'm going to right click, hide all field buttons on charts, and I'm going to add a chart title, and I'm going to select all of this, and this is going to be revenue by category and region. I'm going to copy the chart title so that I can reuse it to rename the sheets, and there we go. I'm going to just change the shape of let me select this. I'm going to go over to the axis options. I'm going to reduce the number of decimal places in the number tab. I'm going to reduce it to 0. Now let's change the shape. So we did a cluster bar charts, 3D cluster bar charts with multiple values like this, but we didn't change the shape of any of them. So let's see what a different shape will look like in this type of chart. So when I select the series, since I already have these series options, you can just right click, go to series options, and then have this. Let's look at full pyramid. So you can change each one individually. So let's say you want to do them by shape, you can. This is partial cone, but it just feels a little bit too much. So it might get fun. It might be fun to play around with some settings, but I think just sticking to a certain design or a certain concept and just, don't do too much so it doesn't become too distracting. I'm going to just make this, I wanted to use a full pyramid, but it just, when I use it in a column chart, it looked fine, but for this, I don't think it does. So I just wanted to show you what it looks like, but I would much rather prefer a cylinder, and that's what I'll do. So I'll select cylinder for all of them, cylinder and cylinder. Personally, I actually prefer this to the what's the other one, the box. I prefer the cylinder to the box. So I just wanted to show you yet another design of this. And with that, we are done with the bar chart series. If you want to watch other videos in this series where I create all of the different chart types in Excel, you can either go to the video description and the links to the course playlist or the individual videos is going to be there, or you could click on the playlist on screen right now. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.